world's first fully integrated
Existenz.
That's the multiprocessor computer
Using
engine
this
that drives
MNet
virtuality.
software generates real-time 3D graphics to suit any application.
How do we access this virtual world?
Welcome to the world of virtuality. Please select your desired experience and relax in the Virtuality SD unit. Now, put on your visette. The ErgoLock system is fully adjustable for individual comfort and can be released immediately if you panic. You are now totally immersed within a three-dimensional world. Look around, behind, above, below. This is a 360-degree world. Your head movements are constantly monitored in real time by the computer sensors. Take hold of the joysticks. With these, you will be in control of your virtual craft's every movement within its virtual world. The only limit is your imagination. Prepare for virtuality.
In the early 1990s, we seem to be standing on the cusp of a breakthrough in technology. A little something called virtual reality promised to whisk us off to digital realms more colorful and thrilling than our own. A system called virtuality captured the media's attention near the start of the decade. By wearing a cumbersome helmet and manipulating a joystick, you can indulge yourself with such gems as Legend Quest, Grid Busters, or Doctale's Nightmare, a 3D shooter where dinosaurs flickered and swooped above your head. Very exciting. This emerging technology seemed to capture the imaginations of writers and filmmakers everywhere, and as you could imagine, the horror genre ate it up.
Virtual reality holds a key to the evolution of the human mind, as that's my focus.
It begins as an experiment.
Do you like to play games? Yeah.
And evolves
If you were smarter, people wouldn't be able to take advantage of you.
into a new state of mind where the real
In here, we can be anything we want to be.
and the unreal collide.
Lawnmower Man's in your head now.
From the mind of Stephen King to yours, Lawnmower Man, now on video cassette from New Line Home Video.
Remember Lawnmower Man? Very loosely based on a Stephen King short story, the 1992 cyber thriller followed Pierce Brosnan's ill-advised experiment to turn his neighbor, a mentally handicapped gardener, into a super genius through the information overload of cutting-edge VR.
Let me ask you about the hit movie Lawnmower Man. It's just like, it's doing amazing.
Yeah, very, I'm really happy, actually, for all concerned, for, Jeff Fahey, who plays the Lawnmower Man, and Brett Leonard, this wonderful young director, and his wife. They produced it, Brett Leonard and Jamil Everett. And, they just took this kind of short story by Stephen King, which was only 7 pages long, and had nothing to do with virtual reality. And they took this short story by Mr. King, and they wrapped it in this, this film about virtual reality.
Now, this virtual reality, see this, I haven't had a chance to see the picture yet, so, but I've heard about this virtual reality. It's like a game where you're in it.
Right. Yeah, it's like a computer. You get in, you can enter inside the computer. You put this, they do exist.
Like these goggles on, and you're actually in the game.
Yeah, you put the goggles on, and then you have a joystick, and you put your hand up, and you can see your hand inside the computer. And if you turn your head, you can see around you, up and below, and you play this with a partner.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Wouldn't sex be just a little easier? Gosh, it seems so complicated.
It's going to be like being up there with the stars, Joe. It's going to be like going to another planet.
In the creation of all the VR devices and the lab and the suits and the motion platforms and the chair that hangs by the wires and all of that, of course, Alex McDowell gets a tremendous amount of credit as the production designer in bringing in these references. At the same time, I was also Jamil and I were very in touch with people in the actual virtual reality world. And I wanted to use as much as was real in that world, as well as stylizing it. So sort of start with real and then take it off and extrapolate from there. The headsets that he was wearing were actual headsets of General Linear Company, VPL, for the basement, the sort of home version, which was really real. And then Alex came up with the idea of like laying on a motion platform for the game that Job plays with Peter Parkett, the kid next door.
I mean, today you have an idea when you look at a film and you say, well, I'm doing a film about virtual reality, so I have an idea of the visuals that you see. But there, I remember Pierce and myself, we'd ask Brett, well, what? He goes, well, I don't quite know what we're going to see yet.
There weren't, in this case, previs or models like we now have, or rough versions or things we can use as temps. We really just had to rely on what Brett was going to say was going to go there. Like, here we're going to see this, and here we're going to see that.
So as we're looking in the goggles, it's just a goggle with a piece of cardboard inside. I mean, it's all. And Brett would say, well, you're seeing something now, and you're almost hit by something now.
The interesting thing about all of those devices is that they're all, literally all of them, becoming real in the virtual reality world right now.
Finally, some real competition.
I literally saw a game device that was, you lay on, I mean, it's the same device, except it's real with real virtual reality.
Congratulations. You just graduated to the next level, Joe.
Lawnmower Man's director, Brett Leonard, revisited the subject a couple years later with Virtuosity, pitting Denzel Washington's cyborg cop off against Russell Crowe's sentient murder simulator. But let's move on. The Lawnmower Man showed the potential dangers of virtual reality and how it could be used to give someone enough power to take over cyberspace. 1 year later, Arcade gave its own spin on the story, instead showing how virtual reality video games have the ability to come alive and trap children inside their circuit boards. Yes, folks, we're dealing with a brilliant cheese fest from the Screw It, Let's Go With That minds of Full Moon, one of our favorite B-movie studios.
My treat.
Deposit your money and the game begins. Who knows where it will take you? It's a trip through the world of virtual reality, courtesy of Full Moon Entertainment's latest release, Arcade. Veteran director Albert Pune returns to Full Moon with Arcade as a unique new medium for terror.
Right. Well, when Charlie first approached me with the title, Arcade, and that he wanted to do a horror film set in a arcade situation. I had been reading some articles about virtual reality and thought it was an interesting framework for a horror film to take place in.
This new technology includes the player as an active participant in the game, and the player's experiences and personality dictate which way the game will proceed.
What?
I saw you watching me.
I think what's interesting about the game is that each level has a different aspect in terms of how it works on Megan's personality, her character's personality. So I think each of the levels have their own sort of, fascinating facet to it.
Step into the vortex.
Megan Ward portrays the troubled youth Alex, who is struggling with her inner demons while trying to save her friends.
What's nice about Arcade is that Alex is the unexpected hero. It's the last person you would think to save the day, because she's got a lot of problems, but she has to also save all her friends from this vicious monster, this machine that's taking over. My favorite thing about being a hero is that I get the applause at the end. No.
Okay, that's print and wrap.
Even heroes need help sometimes.
2 players, Nick.
And Alex gets some from her friend Nick, played by Peter Billingsley.
I'm talking public relations nightmare here, pal. Virgin sacrifices, Satanism, the whole bit.
Off camera, Megan and Peter found time for some fun.
You filming? See, he just got wounded by the screamer. This is what the screamer can do.
What's a screamer?
The screamer is what chases us in the game.
It's the thing that comes out if you spend too much time on a certain
It's
level.
like fate, you know, it's like time catching up with you.
That was bad.
Rounding off the cast are a few more familiar faces sucked in by Arcade. A.J. Langer, Seth Green, and Brandon Rain.
It will take you beyond the boundaries of
reality.
Reality will never be the same.
Never be the same.
The favorite level, the level with the boat scene, when I get to just come out and tell Alex everything I think of her. I wish I could kick her butt, but in the end, she gets me.
She
and
saves
I don't
your
get
life,
it,
man.
but she does save my life.
I'm gonna turn it off. No! Get out of my house!
Oh,
Arcade
it's
will
crazy.
rule the world. There is no escape. Oh, stop. It's too intense.
When we said reality will never be the same, we weren't kidding.
Each player must wear several accessories to enter the world of arcade.
These are the cyber gloves, and this is what enables you to actually touch the virtual reality. This is your headpiece. This is what you look into, and these are our joysticks, so we can maneuver. This is our escape button when things get hot and heavy. We just hope that the escape button works.
Once inside the arcade world, the special effects magic takes over. An oversized blue screen was created to give the illusion that the player was completely enveloped in the computer world, and a special camera was used to film the sequences.
This machine here is called a power pod, and it's a remote control head that maneuvers the camera detached from the head. So I am operating the camera in the luxury of these wheels here. Pan and tilt here. And I have a monitor. I don't know if you can see this as my viewfinder. So it's pretty neat. I can orient these any way I want.
The power pod allowed us to make quite a few kind of radical camera moves very easily, and it could just float over the stage and allow the camera to get into a lot of positions that normally we couldn't in a conventional way.
Once the blue screen footage is shot, the blue background behind the actors is electronically removed and replaced with new images created by the computer animation company DHD.
So what we see now is a blue screen shoot where the actors and some props are shot over a blue background. And by using the blue background and some technical device, we can get rid of the blue background and put some nice computer graphics and blend the actors in their environment. So every time you've got a new camera angle, you have to have the same look but different look in the background, different angle.
Creating the backgrounds is just a small fraction of the elements involved in the computer graphics. Many of the on-screen devices were created solely in the computer.
Typically, we'll get sketches from a client, an art director, or we'll be asked to come up with some sketches ourselves. Typically, it'll be 1 or 2 or 3 views. Once it's been approved, we go into the computer and we start modeling. This is not drawing, has nothing to do with drawing. It's actually doing 3D construct from either spheres or from many different tools that we have, or polygons, triangles, whatever, and they're placed together. Once we get to that stage, we've done some flipbook tests, which are low-resolution picture files, moving the camera around to make sure it looks quite interesting or close to what the client wants. We'll start playing in with material of the object, what colors it is, whether it's shiny or how shiny it is, specularity and highlights, textures, bump mapping, reflection mapping, ray tracing.
After the flipbook tests, the graphic designers move on to more detailed rough versions.
And what we see now is not the final point of view, it's just a working tool. So with this, we're going to decide where our cameras are going to be, virtual cameras, and how the cuts are going to work. It's right before the final rendering. Okay. At this time, all the texture are there, light sources, everything is there. The motion, the speed, everything is there. Just before final rendering, we use this and make sure, yeah.
All this is brought together to create the final dazzling effects that encompass arcade.
My soul! Forgot my free life.
The special effects may be the most spectacular part of arcade, but it was the human element that brought it all together.
Yeah, we're just becoming one big happy family. Happy family.
One of the great things in the film is the scenes with the kids and their rapport, and I think that we improvised a lot of their scenes, and I think that audiences will come away with that being probably their fondest memory of the film.
Yeah. Peace. Thanks.
Bye.
Arcade. Kiss reality goodbye.
Imagine a game that knows your fears, fulfills your fantasies, and owns your mind. Now, imagine the game is real.
Play it, Michael.
Brain Scan, the ultimate head trip. Rated R. At theaters April 22nd.
In 1994's Brain Scan, a lonely teenage horror movie fan discovers a mysterious computer game that uses hypnosis to custom tailor the game into the most terrifying experience imaginable. When he emerges from the hypnotic trance, he is horrified to find evidence that the brutal murder depicted in the game actually happened, and he's the killer.
This kid doesn't really need any more pals in high places, but his latest fantasy flick teams him up with a guy who goes where Arnold never dreamed of setting foot.
One final detail. You must think like a killer. Cover up any clues. Leave no witnesses, no evidence.
In the new thriller Brain Scan, Edward Furlong goes over the top.
It wasn't supposed to be real.
I get to yell a lot. I like that. I don't know. I just have fun.
He's a withdrawn teen whose new virtual reality game delivers the feelings of killing someone.
It's pretty exciting for me because you get to do anything you want and not pay the consequences.
But fantasy seems to become reality as dead bodies pile up and Edward's guide through the game invades his life.
Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Trickster. I come out. But am I really there, or am I just in there? That's the point.
At age 16, Edward confesses that he is a video addict in real life. We tracked him down as he challenged T. Ryder Smith, the actor behind Trickster, for a trial run of the cutting-edge virtual reality game called Battletech.
That's the best you can do.
I'm on your part now.
That's funny, that's funny.
Gotcha.
Ah, there he is, get him, get him.
While Edward and Trickster are evenly matched in the game, they agree that Trickster has one of Brain Scan's most memorable scenes as he devours a raw chicken.
Fix myself a little snack, hope you don't mind. We went through an entire barnyard in that scene, I think. 14 takes. Eating the head each time. The neck is the tough part. The chicken feet, you can get past the feet, but the neck, don't dwell on that.
Back on the video battlefield, the co-stars fought to a draw.
This is much better than your SAT scores.
But when it came to summing up Brain Scan, Trickster tried to get in the last word.
Tell me it was a dream come true.
It's just a dream come true.
That's what I would have said. I can't wait to see what you do next.
Brain Scan puts you to the challenge when it opens this Friday.
There's an intimacy involved in playing Existenz that is beyond description.
In the not-too-distant future, Allegra Geller has created the ultimate escape.
The possibilities are so great.
This is amazing. A parallel universe called Existenz.
Now I'm warning you. It's going to be a wild ride.
It taps into your deepest emotions.
You're the power source. Your body, your nervous system, your energy.
It unleashes your wildest urges.
I can't help myself.
I'm saying it.
I've got a serious urge to kill someone here.
Do it. It's just a game.
But it's the first genuine threat to reality.
It's a lot more fun when it starts feeling realer than real.
And someone wants it stopped at all costs.
You're worth a lot of money. $5 million for your dead body. Step into my office.
Allegra, we need help.
The only way I can tell if everything's okay is to play Existenz with somebody friendly. Are you friendly? Play with me. Something's wrong. Oh, God.
What happened?
He's come back here with us.
I think we're still inside the game.
Stuck now, aren't you?
The hell was that?
That wasn't me.
And that's Jude Law kissing Jennifer Jason Leigh's cybernetic bioport, which taps directly into her spine there in a scene from our next movie, a very strange thriller named Existenz, which is directed by David Cronenberg and is spelled like this. Hot on the heels of The Matrix, which was about people trapped in virtual reality, here's another film where the characters enter into a world projected onto their minds by computer programs. Jennifer Jason Leigh stars as the world's most famous video game author, and as the movie starts, she's proudly displaying her latest game, named Existenz, to a select group of game masters at a secret product introduction. Soon, the virtual reality is so real in this world that even its author seems confused sometimes about whether she's inside or outside the game.
Michael, he was only a game character. I didn't like the way he was messing with my mind.
You didn't like that, so you killed him.
He's only a game character.
Allegra. What if we're not in the game anymore?
Strange things happen at dinner in this movie, where the special at a Chinese restaurant converts into a gun assembled from bones he found on his plate.
What can I do to make your lunch more pleasant?
I found this in my soup, and I'm very upset.
Instead of a high-tech futuristic world, Cronenberg, a Canadian director, sends the game master and her running mate into a virtual world that looks like the backwoods. A gas station attendant, played by Willem Dafoe, reveals the game is deadlier than she realizes.
What's going on?
You're worth a lot of money if you're dead. What are you talking about?
David Cronenberg is one very weird filmmaker, and in Existenz, instead of going for big, flashy special effects like in The Matrix, he goes for small, intricate, and slimy ones. The line between the organic and the inorganic is easily crossed here. The movie's ending is kind of unsatisfactory, but maybe that's the point. Existenz is a lot of fun in a very peculiar sort of way.
Most peculiar. I agree with you, Roger. I really like this film. I'm a Cronenberg fan. But this is definitely not for the squeamish.
No,
I think
no.
the splatter effects definitely require somebody who can take that in stride. But I, for one, really appreciate this film not being just about big budget, explosive or computer-generated special effects. Cronenberg is still a director who relies on your imagination and on his imagination. This is a real movie.
Yeah, he shows you things here you haven't seen before. I like the game controller. Ordinarily on a video game you get a toggle stick or a touchpad or something. Here you have this thing that looks like an organ from an unspecified animal, and you push various knobs and buttons on it, and it kind of seems alive, and it has an umbilical cord that goes into your back, and then these people have kind of sex like in Crash. Remember in Crash where he was very kind of made a connection between the wounds and sex, and here with the scenes with the bioports and things, it's like the MPAA would look at this movie and they would know that something sexual was going on, but it wasn't anything that they'd ever rated before. It would probably confuse them a lot.
Well, it's not very identifiable. I mean, how do you define this kind of sexuality when you're not even sure that male and female is the big divide anymore? It has to do with, what species you are. Are you human? Are you animal? What part organic matter are you? Like this gun that you talked about earlier, Roger, that's made out of bone and gristle because it can't be detected by any kinds of metal detectors or synthetic explosive detectors.
Yeah, I can see people in this movie in a singles bar asking each other what version number they are to see if they're going to be compatible or not.
It seems fair to say that a lot of these older virtual reality movies don't really age well. That sort of thing is so much more advanced than we'd have thought possible even back in 1999. So, although it may have been groundbreaking at the time, that side of things isn't as impressive when watching these films for the first time in certain current year here. Still, it's nice to look back at these movies as a sort of time capsule, and experienced gamers may find much to savor through these multiple films' unique assessments on the nature of reality. You shouldn't be surprised if you see more horror films tackling this subject in the future, films exploring our fascinations and anxieties about technology. Because while graphics improve and devices become faster and more efficient, our human fears never really change.